Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast. This week's episode is sponsored by
Local Choice Magazine.
So, if you're ready, mate, we'll
let's go for it, buddy. Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so welcome to the second episode of the Lancashire Lad podcast. Today we have a very special guest, my friend, who I've worked with several times over the years, and a very well-renowned tribute act to the fantastic Gary Barlow. It is Jon Fisher. How are we, John?
How are you, buddy? All right. Yeah, very well, thank you. Very
good,
well.
mate. You're looking good. You're looking refined with them spectacles.
Yeah, this is my intelligent look. I'll just quickly pop them on for you so you see just how intelligent I am. There we go. That is actually what it really is that I can see now because I'm old. In fact, me and Gary are the same age, so we're aging together, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So, as you know, we've had a difficult year, especially in our industry. What have you been up to? Have you been hibernating? Have you been rehearsing on the quiet? Have you been adding to the game, or tell us a bit more?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, for me, obviously, as with a lot of the guys that we work with, everything just went very shortly. I mean, the last thing I did was middle of March on a cruise. Just happened to be in the Caribbean where there wasn't really many cases out there.
Yeah.
And we came back, and then obviously all hell broke loose. So for me, it's been quite just like the rest of them. There were a couple of moments where we relaxed, should I say, lockdown, which meant we could do a few gigs, we could do a couple of bits and bobs. But other than that, the main time for me has been spent with the children, homeschooling, obviously a little bit of rehearsal, and Zoom stuff, Zoom concerts when we could, just to kind of keep your hand in, like, just so that you can, work through it, because we haven't sung for God knows how long. I say we, I'm talking about all of us here. We haven't sung for so long that you kind of need to keep it going. So things like, Zoom calls and stuff like that, and Zoom concerts were a big help just to kind of keep things moving,
No, absolutely. As you know, you performed for me on the Mocha Music Festival Live Lounge and stuff. So that went down really well. It was nice to. It was strange, wasn't it? Because we were spreading a bit of sunshine in times of strife, but through a computer screen. And I don't think any of us. Yeah, because we've never done that before. And even though we're probably confident people and other people that did the live videos, it's a completely new ball game when you're going from. I mean, I don't know about.
Different.
I don't know about you, but I actually got more nervous performing to a camera than I did a room full of people.
Yeah, totally, because it's just such an unnatural thing for us to do. We're so used to having a live crowd, live audience, people singing back at us, but we're performing to them. So to suddenly just literally be looking into a phone screen or an iPad, and performing, and then obviously when the song's finished, to absolute silence, which hopefully we're not used to doing. We're not used to people cheering and clapping and what have you. So yeah, it was completely unnatural, and I'm not a big fan of it, to be fair. I mean, a lot of people were doing them every other week, which I think it had its place, but for me it was I found it quite a struggle, just because you need that audience, you need that feedback.
No,
so
I'd agree with
was
you.
difficult, but what else did we have? We just couldn't do anything else other than that. So
absolutely. I mean, I set that group up for people to perform off, and what that did was allow me to see the people that were watching. The numbers every week, it would feed back to me. And I remember in March and April, the numbers were astronomical. But like you just said, it had its time in the sense of, I think people knocked the back end out of it, to be fair.
Well, I mean, and I totally get it. And people like yourself, doing things like that it was great. It was great for the performers. It was great for the audience. And it was good. It was good that you thought along those lines to get everybody involved in everything, and it's been great. I mean, Gary doing the crooner sessions.
They were brilliant, weren't they?
We're great, and people, we sort of, we want to entertain people. It's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
So that when we lose it, you want to try and find some avenue to do it, and Zoom was the way to do it. So it all panned out, but it's just can't wait to get back to normality or whatever normality we're going to have.
No, absolutely, buddy. I tell you what, just because you brought that up, the Gary Barlow crooner sessions, I thought was fantastic. I just wondered if you had a favourite. I think, did he do 90?
You know, it was around about that. It was
Yeah,
around about that, and I didn't probably catch every single one. Was it Darren Hayes, the
I
guy
was
he
going to
did
say
very
that.
recently? That was
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah,
I mean, Gary's vocals are always on point anyway.
yeah,
You know, regardless, he's a very talented man in lots of different ways. But listening to Darren Hayes's vocal on that was just
yeah.
completely blew me away. That
It,
was just, you know,
it was a bit
if
like the
Gary was
Battle of
saying
the
he would have gone.
Falsettos.
Oh
Did
God,
you
yeah,
think
yeah,
the
yeah,
falsettos were
definitely.
absolutely amazing,
Oh,
weren't they? You know.
absolutely fantastic. They were on point, and I mean, what a talent. I mean, yes, yeah, and I forgot all about that song. I was
Yeah,
like, where do I know this from? And then the minute you hear it, you're like, oh, yeah, it was a great tune. So I think a lot of people have probably been digging into their Spotify or wherever
yeah, yeah,
to listen to some of the old songs they forgot about. But yeah, it was great. It was another thing, another form of entertaining everybody in these difficult times. So
yeah.
it was great.
Absolutely, mate. And to be fair, you bang on, because when I watched that Darren Hayes song with Gary Barlow, I wanted to learn a Savage Garden song right after that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I've tried learning a few, and they're all too high. But I found that song "I Want You," you know, the one with Cherry Cola in it. Do you
yeah.
know that? Yeah, I've
Yeah, I
started
know
to
the one you
learn
mean.
that.
Yeah,
I've started to learn that, so we'll see how it goes.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
tell you what, we're gonna just check a bit of background with you. So tell us where you're from, and what year, because I've done a bit of research on you, so
Oh, yeah.
I'll bring that up very shortly. But I just want to know where you're from originally, and what was the first steps into entertainment.
Okay, well, so for me, so I'm born and bred Reading, Berkshire. So I'm a southerner, obviously, not like Mr. Barlow. As far as the entertainment is concerned, I sort of started at an early age. I had a friend of mine who played keyboards and guitar and what have you. So we started, if you like a bedroom band, as it were, where, you know, he would write
Yeah,
some music and I would sort of write lyrics down to it and sing along to whatever was written. And so I kind of got the bug for singing and performing. Not that we really performed in front of a large crowd of people. It would have obviously been, you know, parents and cousins and stuff like that.
I
So
know the
that for
feeling.
me was, yeah, but really for the actual bug took hold when I was started out as a redcoat, as far as being paid to perform for Bognor Regis,
Yeah.
Sonny Bognor, and I did 3 years at Butlins Bognor, and it was the best training ground you can ever have, because obviously colleges will teach you so much, but this was like being thrown into the deep end. So you perform, and if you don't get it right, you messed up in front of about 3 or 4,000 people. Those big show lounges really did hold a lot of people. So you kind of learn very quickly, and you know, you learn your trade very quickly, and that for me was the best introduction into it, if you like. You
Hmm.
know,
Well,
and then, you know, I was just going to say, from then on,
yeah.
really, I was sort of on the roll. Then we went from various different jobs and stayed in entertainment. I've been doing it for about 25, 27 years now.
Was it it's something you knew? I guess I don't know if it's the same for you as it was for me, but when you started it, did you feel the same as I did? As in, this is it. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'll
Yeah,
continue to do.
yeah, I loved it. I loved it straight away, because maybe it's a little bit of the show off in me.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the friendships you make, because you know the entertainment business is quite a small circle, really. You know, you tend to know a lot of people, and I think all of that rolled in together for me was great. I mean, you know, later on in life for me, I've travelled well as well. You know, from cruise ships and what have you. So I think all of that together kind of made me think, yeah, this is just, you know, it's what I want to do, you know.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad about what you just said about 2 minutes ago, because um, what you said for me is bang on. And what I mean by that is I worked for First Choice for 5 years. And when I joined the entertainment team, I was performing 5, 6 nights a week, whether it was kids' discos,
That's it,
bingo,
yeah.
game shows. I had a microphone in my hand every single night for 5 years.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that is quite simply why I got to a point where I'm always comfortable on stage with a mic and things. Do you think it was exactly the same for you?
Yeah, because you did everything known to man with regards to performances, or like you say, you'd call the bingo, you might be introducing some big sports star.
Yeah.
That was sports star, not porn star, which nearly came out there. And it was just want to get that right. Of course, you learn very quickly. It gives you the knowledge you need. Obviously, you got people training you along the way, but you really need to kind of get out and do it yourself, because it's the best way to learn.
Absolutely. Did you ever, because this happened with me, and I know several other people as well, did you ever at that point really look up to certain people, and then a couple of years down the line go, bloody hell, I've got to their level and probably got past them now, and you feel that bit of, I'm really developing in this job? Do you get what I mean with that?
Yeah. I think for me, it would have been normally sort of senior man rather than actual famous people. For me, I think it was people that you started working alongside, and you watched them and you thought, they've got it. They've really got it, and you kind of you would ask questions, but I think just watching people like that is a massive help, because you just kind of get to see how it's done. Because sometimes you can't, with colleges and schools, people can tell you how things work and how it should be, but really until you watch it happen for yourself, it doesn't make sense all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Right then, as I said, I did a bit of research, and last night, as me and Gemma were putting ourselves to bed, I clicked on YouTube and typed in Jon Fisher, and what's at the top? Stars in Their Eyes. So,
wow.
So we watched the video, and
that'll never leave me.
Well, literally, naturally, me and Gemma expected tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be Gary Barlow. That's what we thought was coming. And as you can imagine, we had a massive shock. But soon as you announced who you were going to be, which, by the way, I'll let you tell people in a second, Gemma said to me, oh, no, he does look like him. He does look like him. And then I have to admit, when you first started singing, I was like, wow, that is so good. We'll probably put a link to that on here for people to have a look at.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, tell us how it happened that you became onto that. Well, how you got on that show, and tell us who you were.
Okay. So, again, I just kind of started becoming a redcoat, Butlins, and my roommate was applying for Stars in Their Eyes as Harry Connick Jr. And he was very nervous about it.
It had to be you.
Yeah, great. I love a bit of Harry Connick. And he said, "Will you do me a favour? I know. Would you come on? Would you come on with me? Will you just come along to an interview? You look like the guy out of D-Ream. There's a little clue for you there. Why don't you? His name's Peter Cunner. Right. Why don't you do it?" And back then, everything was on cassette tape. So we had a recording studio at Butlins where we would put down all the backing vocals and everything we needed for the shows. So I had the backing track for it, and as a joke, and it was as a joke, every time I tell the story, I can't tell you how much, because I never in a million years thought about doing any television. At that point, I'd only really just started becoming a redcoat. So big crowds were still, making me nervous, let alone at that point, on a Saturday night, Stars in Their Eyes was commanding sort of 16, 18 million people.
It was massive, wasn't it? It was
big
massive,
show back then, So anyway, I said, look, I'll do it as a bit of company for you. So I recorded the track. We both sent he had a spare application form. We both sent our application forms off. And then we both got an audition. At this point, I'm already starting to panic a little bit, because this is really something I want to do, but I thought I'm not going to get on the telly, so I'll just, humor him. We both went to our first audition, and then he didn't get any further, and I got offered a second audition. Now, at this point,
I bet your mate was gutted, wasn't he?
Really panic. Yeah, it was trying to let him down gently, and he was very supportive. But anyway, a few more auditions down the line, and we're next thing you know, I'm on the television. I'm on the program, which scared the hell out of me, if I'm honest, because I wasn't really planning to do it. When you think about D-Ream, you think about one song, things can only get better.
Absolutely.
It's not as far as a career would be, with lookalikes and what have you, and tributes. There's nowhere to go with it, because we had about 2 songs that you recognize, and that's it. Well, bearing in mind, we normally need to do 45 minutes. As you can tell, I didn't think it through. But it was a great experience. For me, I was lucky I'd already worked in front of a few crowds. So even though there was TV cameras whizzing around in front of me, I tried not to think about the TV cameras and just try and think about the audience I had in front of me, which is about 200 to 300 people, which
Right,
really,
okay, yeah.
because yeah, there's an audience there as well. So you do your 2 takes. First of all, you do your interview with Matthew. And the way they film it is that the first 5 people do their interviews, and then the first one who's the last one to join the interview, if you like, then gets ready to come out the doors with the smoke and everything else.
Got you. Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's just filmed like that. You get 2 goes at it, 2 goes at the interview, 2 goes at the singing, and if you don't get that right, you've had it, because it goes out on telly. I had a dance routine to learn as well. Now, anybody who knows me will know I do not dance, just like Gary. I don't dance. Although I spent a lot of my time at Butlins doing choreographed routines. My poor choreographer will anyway, that's another story. But anyway, we did it, and I enjoyed it. The embarrassing thing for me was that they thought I was a fan of Peter Cunner.
All right.
They thought because I would imagine that most people who do this program are fans of who they're doing, which totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just helping a friend out. So I went to London to get the suit fitted, because they're very thorough with getting the same suit that he wore and everything else. And when I walked, it was in Covent Garden. I walked into a tailor's in Covent Garden, and Peter Cunner from D-Ream was there. Now, it's a bit of an awkward situation for me, because I wasn't 100% sure who he was and what he looked like. And of course, he thinks he's meeting a fan. He thinks he's, so he's like, here I am. And I'm like, yeah. Hi, how are you? And so we had a bit of a chat. I didn't tell him that I wasn't, this is all just a bit of a, but he was a lovely guy. We got on well, tried the suit on, and away we went. And then, of course, when we filmed the show, Matthew Kelly then goes, and you got to meet Peter Cunner as well, didn't you? And I had to then play that up again and go, yep, brilliant to meet the man himself. It was great, and, but so it was all a bit bizarre, really. But it was a great experience. For me, TV shows are a little bit different back then. There was no real agenda. They were what they were, and that was the end of it. I think some of the newer TV programs now are a little bit, they've got some other agenda other than just helping you along.
Mutton dressed in sheep's clothes or whatever it's called.
Big time, big time. And I've been offered a few other TV programs. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been offered other TV programs that I haven't done, because I've seen good friends, struggle with TV work, and so I just kept away from it. But it was a great experience for me, and it didn't do me any harm. I was a little bit famous for a while at Butlins, that was about it.
Yeah,
so that was great.
Fair enough. Right then, let's get to obviously what you do now, and I'll just do a bit of introduction to that, because over the last 6 years, as an event organizer in Morecambe in Lancaster, I started wanting to bring tributes to the local area, and which I have done. And then you were recommended to me, and obviously we worked together. And at that point, and even now, and hand on my heart, I will tell you, you're one of the best tributes I've ever worked with.
Nice,
and it's not just, it's the whole thing with you, from the mannerisms to the singing. And what I'm trying to say is Jon is one of the leading tributes to Gary Barlow, not just in this country, but around the world. And the reason I can say that is because, quite simply, he works all around the world. So what I want to know, Jon, is when was it? And I've got a feeling it'll probably similar to the D-Ream thing, I guess, what was it where people, when you found out, you know what, I actually, number one, like the music, I actually sound like him, I can move a bit like him, or was it a general progression of polishing up different areas of the tribute act?
Well, the honest answer to that is that I'd been working cruise ships as a singer. The QE2 I did as a big band singer, so I was just me on stage performing. And the holiday parks and the other cruise ships, I was part of a cast that we would do production shows. And I was a little bit bigger back then. I was a couple of stone heavier, and I had a skinhead, which there are some old pictures of me knocking around, and you'll be like, oh, okay. So what happened was I lost some weight. I grew my hair just because, and I had lots of people saying, "You really look like Gary Barlow. You know, you really look like Gary Barlow," and obviously the music is great music anyway. So take that of some legendary songs out there, and I had a lot of friends that were doing tributes, and it's not something I'd ever really thought about, but I had so many people talking to me about it, and I kind of watched a few friends do it, and so I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try. I'll see how I get on with it. And I remember my first gig was a casino gig, and I kind of, I'd learnt the set, and I put, because obviously it's a learning curve as to what song should go where and what's the best songs to use. And the first one went down really, really well. And sort of from then on in, I used to do my own stuff as well as Gary Barlow, but everything now is pretty much Gary that I do. Take that and Gary Barlow. And I suppose, so the early doors, really, it wasn't something I thought I was going to get into. I thought I'd just be performing as me. But then with the people I had surrounding me, it kind of sort of egged me on to do a little bit more, if you like. So it's kind of where it started for me.
No, honestly,
that was about 7 years ago. That.
Is that so basically, was it at the time where, how can we word this? Was it around the time of the resurrection of Gary Barlow? Because obviously
it probably was. Yeah, it probably was, because obviously. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay, John. It's difficult when you're not in front of each other and we're looking at the cameras. It's hard to know when to come in, which people will understand. Because I remember back then, he reappeared on the scene. And within 2 weeks, he was every housewife's favorite. It was literally like the phoenix from the flames. It was like his long due over. It was like his long. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It was like his long overdue.
I can remember now. I can remember a time before. I think it was probably around the Open Road album time, when he was on. He'd had his bit of solo success. Take That had split up, and I think he got to #1, but then everything just kind of went south for him. And I remember seeing him on a TV program that was, I can't think of the guy's name now. And he was being interviewed, and he was sat at the front with what looked like a very cheap keyboard, singing Take That hits to the crowd. And he looked really, the whole thing just looked sad. It looked like, the guy that was massively famous, and then he just kind of fallen from grace, not from anything he'd done, just because, he wasn't trendy at the time. Take That split, and that was that, everybody kind of forgotten. And it looked quite sad to watch it, and then, of course, like you say, he then came back round again, and all of a sudden, Take That of Reforming, and then he was, Take That Reforming was first, really, and then he kind of got his confidence back, and then he became on his own a bigger entity. So it was I would like to say it was timed like that, but it wasn't. It was just, I was just lucky with the timing, really, that they came back into the fold, and all the fans that loved them the first time round loved them again. There was no change there. And then, of course, a younger crowd as well, because the kids of the mums and the dads that loved it started liking it too. So
no, absolutely. I think the one thing I look back on with Gary Barlow back around about that period, and when he got onto X Factor and things like that, I remember one of my good friends is called Paul Akister, who obviously got onto the X Factor several years ago. And I remember when it came to the episode of who was going to mentor him, and I was like, please be Gary, please, because he'll proper get him. He'll know what to do with him. You just know that. And then he got Mel B. And I'm not going to go into, a slanging match about anybody, but I just thought a bit of luck on that side. I think Paul would have gone, because he would really known what to do with him, I think his music IQ is up there with the best, is Gary Barlow. Like his judgment and his IQ is just sensational. And I think a lot of people don't see that side a lot of the time.
No, as a songwriter, performer obviously goes without saying, but as a songwriter, from the West End stuff that he's written to music for other people as well, you can tell that he's in it for the writing of the music, the love of the music, as opposed to the performing. The performing is all part and parcel of it, but he's a true lover of the writing. In fact, X Factor for me was when I just started doing Gary Barlow, when he'd become a judge, was basically when I started performing as him. So I was lucky in that respect that he was pretty much everywhere then. He was on telly every Saturday night. So I was kind of lucky with the timing.
Yeah. So what did you find any part of becoming Gary Barlow as a tribute? Did you find what was the hardest part you found? What was the thing that came the most natural, and what was the thing that you found the most hard
Um,
to learn?
I think probably pitch and tone for him. We
Yeah.
talked about falsetto earlier, and Gary's an absolute lover of
Yeah.
all of those very high notes. And it's not something I'd ever really performed, falsetto stuff. So that for me was getting
Yeah.
that right was a thing. But the look came fairly easily to me. Obviously, clothes-wise and everything else came fairly easily to me. So it was really
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the performing as him, and not that he does a great deal on stage. It's a very sort of laid
It's
back and
the usual
do
standard.
that, but that's it. Yeah, a lot of pointing and
Yeah. Yeah.
so that just watching a lot of live stuff was the best way to sort of encapsulate his kind of persona, as it were.
Yeah.
But it's been, and he's so well loved that and as a tribute doing that, you get that love as well, because people hopefully if you're doing a good job, people get confused with the reality, which obviously as a performer is kind of what you hope for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, what would you say is your favorite Take That song to perform, or Gary Barlow song? What do you
um
what do you
well
enjoy
I get
singing the most?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, and I think really for me, probably things like "Rule the World"
Great song.
and
Yeah.
things you wouldn't. "Back for Good" is
Yeah.
very well loved as well. But I would say if I had to go to one, it would probably be "Rule the World" because it's just loved. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great one to perform. Everybody lighters in the air sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a good finish, really. It's a Robbie Williams Angels, if you like. As far as I'm concerned, it's that kind of number.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you totally. I actually listened to you sing, and I thought you did a wonderful job on it because it's a really hard song to sing. I watched you sing Love Ain't Here Anymore,"
Oh
um,
yeah,
and I know that's a bugger to do,
yeah. It
and
is.
it's a bugger to do, and
Yeah.
you did it really, really well. What's the song that you? Because I know I'm a performer myself, so I know sometimes in my sets I'm like, God, I've got that song coming up that I don't
Yeah,
like, but
yeah,
the audience do. What's that
yeah.
for you?
And I'll tell you one of the new ones for him, which I've kind of discovered. There's nothing really that I find that I don't look forward to doing
Right,
until I learn Incredible. Now, if you have
right.
ever when you don't talk to me and when we get off this call, if you sing through
I'll
Incredible,
always talk
you'll
to you,
see
John.
exactly what I mean. It is. There's nowhere to breathe in it at all.
Right.
It's very fast. It's a
Yeah,
great tune, but it is very quick and there's not a lot of places to breathe. So that for me,
yeah,
like I say, I've just put that in the set now. That for me is going to be the one where I think, here we
yeah,
go, because there isn't there. I mean, it's like I say, it's a great number to have in there, but
yeah.
you just got to have lungs like a whale to be able to do it.
No, absolutely. It is incredible. I mean, I smoked and drunk for a long time now, and I remember
This is like a
I,
Piers Morgan interview.
yeah, I got to the point. I got to the point last year. Sorry, mate, don't compare me to him. I'll walk off.
Yeah.
And I just remember last year, I was probably the most unfittest I've ever been in my life, and I was struggling to sing songs. So I can imagine if you've got a song,
Yeah.
breathing's massive, isn't it? Yourself,
Oh God, yeah.
and like I said, and if it's a really quick song and you're not in condition, then there's nothing worse than getting
Yeah. I
halfway
mean,
through a song and going, oh.
yeah, totally. I mean, especially if you're a little bit out of practice, like we have been.
Yeah,
I mean, I did a gig. It was a Zoom gig, but it was for a pub chain, and I kind of did nearly a 2-hour show, and it was quite a struggle because I was like, I was mentally prepared for it. I just don't
yeah,
think I was physically prepared for it. And all of a sudden, your body's like, whoa, what's happening here? What are we doing? We don't normally sit on the sofa or arguing with the kids about homework. So it was hard, and you forget because you do it so much. Your voice is a muscle. The
yeah,
more you use it, as with anything, and so it does sometimes become a bit of a like, I can tell, just like if you went down the gym after
yeah.
not going down the gym, you would feel it, so it's
No,
the same sort of thing, really.
yeah, absolutely. So talk to me about the cruise ships, because obviously
Yeah.
I have to say I get a bit jealous.
Well, cruise ships is don't get me wrong. I feel very fortunate to do cruise ships. They're superb. I worked on them before I was Gary in production shows, so I already traveled the world quite well, which was lovely, and I enjoy it. What we do now, as Mr. Barlow, we'll fly out, join the ship. We'll do 2 shows, 2 45-minute shows. Obviously, that's repeated because on cruise ships you've got 2 dining sittings, so you'll have a show at 7:30 and maybe a show at 9:30.
Right.
And you'll do the same show then, and then a couple of nights down the road you'll do and the same again. So and the beauty with the cruise ships is that you get to use a live band, which for me is just the best thing ever. We're so used to, you and I are so used to using backing tracks because that's all we've got. But whereas on the ships, you'll take your sheet music and you get to do it with a live band, which is just phenomenal. So yes, it's wonderful. You get to travel the world. I was going to try and play it down for you to make you feel better, but you get to travel the world, and
free drinks and meals,
meals, and it's lovely. And normally, you're on with the right sort of people as well. So you can, you've got a few guys that so you've got some company, if you like, throughout the cruise. Normally about a week. I have done back in the day. I have done back-to-back cruises. I was on there for a month, which for me, because I'm obviously married with 3 kids, it's difficult when you're away for that long.
I bet it's brilliant.
Normally, well, it's peaceful. It's peaceful, and the wife loves it when I go away for a month in the Caribbean. I try play that down.
Well, to be fair, John, you've got a lot of Michael Kors shops to look for, haven't you? To be fair, when I
normally have to come back with something, just to so she lets me in the front door.
For those that don't know, that she won't, Jon Fisher and his wife, they play this game on social media where she's a massive Michael Kors fan, and he'll be somewhere in the world, and the Michael Kors shop will be behind him, and he'll be like, has anyone seen the shop? And it's like an ongoing joke. I love the banter with that. I always follow it. So it's good.
No, it sounds like you've got very understanding.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It sounds like you've got a very understanding wife at home and stuff that supports and encourages you to get out there. Yeah,
I think you have to, otherwise it just wouldn't be doable. And obviously now and again, depending on the time of year, you can take your family with you as well. And obviously sometimes it's difficult with school. So I have taken my wife away, and then the grandparents have had the kids. So, it's just trying to find a bit of balance, really.
Absolutely.
From making sure you'll be working and the gigs are coming in. I do quite a bit in the UK as well, but the ships are lovely.
Yeah,
sorry, mate. I was trying to make you feel better, but there's no way of doing it.
I remember Jack D doing a stand-up once, and he was like, people think this job's easy, but I'm out on the road 6 days a week, hotels, mini bars, in bed on my own. It's perfect.
You know what? It's the thing is, as with anything that's amazing, when people hear you say, "Oh, I'm on a cruise ship," or "I've got to fly to the Caribbean," you'll always find something to moan about. You know, Caribbean flights, you're talking about 8-9 hours. You normally don't sleep, and sometimes you might be doing a show that night. So there are the ups and downs to it, but I'm not,
I can imagine
at all.
Oh, look at that! There's a cloud up there.
Yeah. Oh, it's still a bit chilly. It's only 80 degrees in the shade.
Yeah, absolutely. John, do you ever find that some people take it a bit far with what you do for a living? And what I mean by that is they get a bit familiar with you and see you more as the person you're portraying rather than yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot, but I think with that, you should, I guess you should take it as a compliment, that people get lost in that, like we were saying earlier. If you're doing your job right, hopefully the reality and the fantasy will become mixed, because that's kind of what we're doing. So I think you'd be be unreasonable to sort of to think that wouldn't happen. Yes, people can be very familiar with you. That are total strangers. And I'm sure you've had it as well. We do photo sessions afterwards, and if I haven't had my arse grabbed about 10 times, then I'm not doing my job right. But it's just it is part and parcel of the job. I do my very best to make sure that the show looks as real as it can be. We get the right music, and we get the right atmosphere going. So it's it's one of those things you hope for, really. I suppose that people see it like that. Otherwise, I think it just gets a bit lost. It just gets a kind of like just performing the songs of,
I get
rather
that,
than
totally.
actually trying to be him.
No, absolutely.
But, It
No, you
happens.
can tell you enjoy doing what you do and stuff, and you're damn good at it as well. So that leads me to my last question before I move on to the end of the podcast, which is
Go on then.
what does the next 12 months, 36 months have in store for Jon Fisher?
Well, hopefully more of the same, as in not the same that we've just gone through, but we can get back to doing what we love. For me, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I've got no plans to not do it anymore. So for me, I would hope for more of the same. We always look for new contracts as well, new on the horizons, new opportunities. But for me, hopefully more of the same. And just getting back in front of a live crowd for me is going to be it's just going to be amazing. And I hope everybody comes out and supports, because of the year we've had, and year and a half, if you like, we've had. I hope people just kind of support it and just go all in, and then really come out and watch live entertainment in whatever form it may be, whether it's a live band or whether it's a tribute or whatever. If it's a juggler, just come out and support everybody.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of hustling for position when these pubs and restaurants and theatre door opens. But I think if everyone remembers rolling this together and plays the game, I'm sure everyone will be right and we'll all go back to normal and stuff. Yeah,
I hope so.
Fantastic. We'll try and get back to Morecambe this year as well if we can. I know you're going to be very busy.
I hope
but
so, mate. Yeah,
it'd be great to get you back to Morecambe.
We?
Yeah, well, as you know, a lot of people around here enjoy your show, and it'd be great to get you back at some point this year. So we'll do our best. Okay, so as always, well, I say always, I've only done one podcast. This is my second one. But but as per rota, that's going to happen at the end of every podcast, as I explained on my last one, I got really into a program called Inside the Actors Studio that used to be hosted by James Lipton, who unfortunately passed away not so long ago. And he used to interview actors. And at the end of every show, with the interview with the Pacific actor, he used to ask them 10 questions that were invented by Bernard Pivot. And and even if I didn't enjoy the episode, I used to fast forward it to the end because I want to know what the answers were. And as we found out with Matt in episode 1, you can get some rather unusual answers that are quite entertaining. So, Jon Fisher, here are your 10 questions from the Bernard Pivot questionnaire. So question number 1, what is your favorite word?
Right. My favorite word is, and it doesn't get used enough, is shenanigans. Love that word. It covers a multitude of things. You could use shenanigans in a lot of different circumstances. And to me, it always gives me a little bit of a chuckle when I hear it.
Yeah.
In fact, a friend of mine, we use it a lot just so that we can get each other to laugh.
Absolutely. I actually sing in a place called Shenanigans. It's got that.
I've seen a few places that are called that, actually. It's brilliant.
Yeah, great answer. Great answer. What is your least favorite? What is your least favorite word?
Well, I'll tell you what my least favorite words. I'm going to use words here.
All right. Okay.
Now, the reason for this, because for me, you would be thinking words that annoy you or what have you.
Yeah.
Now, having flown on pretty much every airline there is available, and I'm probably sure you've done the same.
Are you going to say disembark?
No, I'm not going to say
disembark. For that. That's what Matt said.
This is a group of words.
All right.
When they start to do the safety announcement and they tell you that listen to it because every plane is different, that is an out and out lie. Because I have flown every single airline there is available, and I mean ones you've never even heard of, and they are word for word on this.
Yeah.
So don't lie to me. Don't start saying, listen to this because it changes. It doesn't change. So when I hear those words, that annoys me because I think just tell us the truth. We know we've got to be safety conscious, but don't start lying to me straight away. So those words, that safety announcement annoys me. And it might just tell us the truth.
Just do us a favour, John. Just take 5 breaths, please.
That's how cross I get. See?
Let's get back into your zen. Right, are we all right?
I'm all right now. I should have brought a whiskey up.
Oh my God, that was fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's all right, mate. I'll send you a number to ring after here.
There must be a helpline.
Yeah. What turns you on?
Right, for me, apart from the obvious, it's knowing you're going to have a good night. It's knowing that when we talked about cruise ships and being with all the right people, it's those kind of moments where you're going out, you're going to meet the right people, your wife with you, whoever you've got with you, that you're just going to have a great time. And that, for me, that anticipation of a great night is fantastic. Doesn't get any better than that.
Ah, lovely answer, mate. Lovely answer. What turns you off?
Airline announcements. Don't get this. Listen, Stuart, I don't want to go on about it, but they're lying to you. They're lying to you, mate.
Oh, mate. Do you know something? I'll be on an aeroplane in 6 months' time.
Start me off like that.
I'll be like that to Gemma. He was bloody right, you know. He was bloody right.
Bang on the money. No matter where you are, British Airways. No matter where you are.
Fair enough. What sound do you love?
I tell you what. Now, I'm not a wine drinker. I never have been. I've tried wine. It's not for me. But you know, when you first uncork, my wife drinks wine. You know, when you first uncork the bottle, that first pour. That noise that makes, that's a phenomenal sound. And that's from a non-wine drinker. So I don't know why I like it so much, but it just sounds great.
You know, you can make that noise with water.
Well, yeah, is it as much fun?
No, I know what you mean, mate. I know what you mean. What sound do you hate?
Airline announcements, man. I'm telling you. Sorry, you just left the door open for me. I need to get help.
Oh, mate, this is brilliant. This is brilliant.
Do you know what?
Don't you change.
Talking about airlines, for me, it's just an upset child because obviously I've got kids myself, and I know what it's like. If they get upset, sometimes it's difficult to stop them crying. Yeah. But there's a certain cry from a child when you can't do anything about it. That's very difficult to listen to. So I think that would probably be my sound that would. That and airline announcements. Sorry about that. Sorry. So I'm trying not to do it. But...
Right, tickle me that. It tickled me.
I'll speak to someone. I'll talk to someone.
Well, this is probably an appropriate time to ask you this next question. What is your favourite curse word?
Right. Well, this goes along lovely. I particularly like "for fuck's sake." That for me is that covers everything, especially when you hear somebody just about to do an announcement, like, for fuck's sake. It covers it.
Yeah, no, I feel you, brother. I feel you. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Right. Well, you know what? As far as, I mean, when you talk about things like this, I always think of hobbies. Now, I've got a bit of a watch fetish. I've always had a watch fetish. I bought and sold watches in my time, and I could see myself working for a high-end watch company, whether it be, you know, repping around the world, selling them and what have you, fixing them as well. I like all of that sort of stuff. So I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to watches.
Have you got the time, though?
I can see myself. Yeah. Hey, see how I just set you up there? And you just, you're welcome.
You've got to face it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's enough. That's enough.
I'll stop there.
That for me, that would be my thing. Yeah, that would be my thing.
Fantastic. What an interesting answer that is.
Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
Well, I think for me, I've just got the utmost respect for anybody in the NHS. So I think that for me would be something I couldn't see myself doing, because I just don't think I've got that in me to do it. But I just hats off. Not that it's a bad thing at all. I just think how they do it is amazing. So yeah, NHS for me, they're just phenomenal people. So,
fantastic.
They're great, phenomenal.
Great answer. And obviously, the last question, I think this is number 10, is this. If heaven exists, and as you arrived at the pearly gates, if God existed, what would you... Not that he doesn't, by the way.
Yeah,
whatever floats your boat, what would you like to hear him say?
I think I'd like to hear him say, sorry, mate, you're supposed to be downstairs. But that's probably
no, fair enough, mate.
Because I think it might seem a bit boring up there. I think it would be more fun downstairs.
Do you know something? I feel that way a lot of the time as well, so I can relate to
you
that.
Probably couldn't swear up there or anything like that. I mean, we'd be in a hell of a load of trouble.
No, so, you couldn't say for fuck's sake.
Probably can't drink. Probably can't drink. So couldn't hear that wine noise.
Well, no, mate, some fantastic answers there and stuff. And listen, all that's left to say, Jon, to you is thank you so much for giving up your time to, as you know, this is a very early stage for the Lancashire Lad podcast. I'm trying to build this into something that's massive, really. I always aim high, and I want to try and make this podcast as big as it can ever be. And I will never forget the people at the start that gave the time to help me. So it's been really interesting talking to you. Thank you for the stories. Thank you for your journey. And I wish you nothing but the best, mate, for the next year and beyond.
Thank you, buddy.
And yeah, thank you for giving up your time. And like I said, we'll get you back up to Morecambe, and we'll maybe get you to stay over and have a beer.
Yeah, it'd be rude not to, wouldn't it? It's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for having me on here, and I hope it does brilliantly for you. I know you will. You're a hard worker, so I'm sure it'll be awesome. But thanks for having me, bud. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, mate. Cheers. So that, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jon Fisher, episode number 2. If you've never seen Jon perform before, you can obviously Google, YouTube him. We'll put some links on. He is one of the best tribute acts, especially to Gary Barlow, in the world. And I couldn't put you off booking him in any capacity whatsoever. So, Jon, I wish you all the best. Thank you. And,
thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you, my friend. Take care. All the best.
You too, mate. For more exciting content, please click subscribe. And if you want to keep in the loop with all our latest material, then click the bell.